And good evening, everybody. This is a pleasant encounter, and we got a room full of people. I'm Norman Upshaw. Yes, Geraldine Smith is in the building. She will be here shortly to join in this smorgasbord, as she said, of a conversation. We have a lot of we got a lot on the plate, and we just gonna let it out. Of course, we got our guy Red here. Then we got Attorney Allen here. We got Brian here, and I just mention her name. We got two special guests here in the building. They're gonna speak on it, and we just gonna go for it. So how's everybody doing this evening?
Simply
blessed,
marvelous.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed, just mourning the loss of two good fighters who tried to help those that were in need. We keep losing those that are willing to help, and we need more people to just step up and help. And listen. And both these guys came from different communities. One was poor African American, one was rich Jewish, but they both gave the same love and work to the same job. And I just like to remember them and thank Mr. Crawford for letting us use the radio station for this.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
Yes, sir.
One of those was Sage Smith. I first met him in Stateville about 1982 when he was working at the law library trying to help guys out then. Got transferred down to Menard, and instead of giving up, he became the law clerk for death row. So they set aside a cell in death row, and he would go over there every day. He was stocked with books and talk to the guys on death row and try to figure out what was going on with their case and get as many of them out as he could because they're innocent. And finally we got him out. He was on old C number, so he got himself out and got paroled and went immediately. Instead of, again, giving up and doing whatever he wanted to do for himself, he went straight to work on behalf of the Innocence Project at Northwestern University, still trying to get people out who were innocent. So a real fighter, and unfortunately he died very early this morning after a struggle. The other is Paul Homer, was one of the founders of the Uptown People's Law Center. He joined the board in 1980s and about 1982 and went for about 25 years. As Brian said, when he was 83 years old, he traveled from Chicago down to Tams, Illinois, which is about as far as you can get from Chicago, to visit the guys because he was doing a case and said, I'm not doing a case for somebody I haven't met. So he got in the car and drove 6 hours down to Tams at the age of 83 to meet with those guys down there and was a fighter for everybody in the Supermax prison. So it's been a hard weekend for battlers, but just means more of us have to step up to the plate because there's always more to do and more people to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, we're fortunate to have those folks in our lives that did step up to the plate and do such a thing, and that's how life really works, One started and the torch is passed on. So now it's time to do something about it. And now her name comes to my mind, Stephanie. Miss Stephanie is a part of Life Builders United, and we were just talking off air about, I was hearing some of the conversation about where she's playing a huge part with the youth and things of that nature. So Stephanie, tell us about what's happening, because you shared a wealth of information about off air with us about what you're doing and what you're anticipating for the youth and the expectations that you have going on over there. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'm the youth choir director at Trinity All Nations. God has blessed me to start dealing with the youth as well as with life builders. I think that it's very important that we begin to just embrace our youth on today and let them know that where they're headed, we've been there. We've done that. And when we try to tell them that we can change your mindset, we can help you figure things out, and that we are someone that you are able to talk to when you have no one else to talk to, that we are here for you, and importantly let them know that they are comfortable doing it. For those that have made mistakes, have been incarcerated, ought to be able to reach back to our youth. God has blessed us to be a testimony on today. A lot of us, unfortunately, didn't make it. A lot of us have not been able to come back and say, you know what, second guess. I have to really take a good look at this and say it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth putting myself through. It wasn't worth putting my family through. So we are building up our strength to help our youth, to let them know that, guess what? It's people out here that are talking to people to help you out. That to let you know that what you're going through is all about a hold on process. To let you know that as long as you continue to hold on, good things are gonna happen. They're gonna happen for you, because all of us that have anything today, our elders, our teachers, all those people that they're watching, it was a process for them. Even the people that they watch on TV today, the rappers, they don't tell the hard part that they go through. They just show the easy part. They just show the glamour. And trust me, everything that glitter is not gold.
real.
It's rough for them. You know, it looks good right here standing on the outside, but once you step in, it's a lot of work. But, you know, I really believe that if you just stop and just consider the things, right now, the youth have it made. For those that have a roof over their head, they don't have to pay any bills, they're clothed, you go to school. Just be responsible for taking care of your schoolwork right now. Just do that. Just keep it simple. And then if you do need somebody, pick up the phone, talk to people. Go to your nearest church. Talk to your pastors. Let them know exactly what's going on with you. And trust me, they'll be don't nobody know what's not going on with you unless you say something. Unless you say something. And for our men, we need to stand up and show our children and show the youth that this is not the way to go.
Yeah. And you know, what you just touched on is what, you know, and Red and Geraldine and the rest of them can attest to what I've been saying for the last 6-7 months, ever since it was warm outside, about accountability and responsibility. And those are the two things that, you know, and with you doing that with the youth, that's what that shows them about how to eventually be accountable and how to have responsibility, because they're not going to stay youngsters anymore. You know, they're not going to stay youngsters forever. They're going to have to face a world that's not going to have the care that you have for them. So once they learn it early enough, now they're able to deal with adversity. They're able to deal with this, that, and the other. They're able to deal with any sort of darts or bullets may come their way. They may be able to deal with it. And believe it or not, that's what you're doing for those young folks is going to make a great difference in their lives. I mean, they, you know, some may appreciate it now, and some may not even appreciate it until they're 30 years old. But the thing of the matter is, they're going to appreciate it, regardless of what age they are.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a product of your environment.
Yeah.
No.
You don't have to be.
You can be you. You have the right to be you. You don't have to be anybody else but yourself. And if somebody doesn't like you because you're not a drug dealer or gangbanger, well, that's your problem. Have a nice day. Yeah. You know, I'll still be your friend, but
think for yourself.
Yes, I'm a grown person.
But on the same token, we have to remember everything, like she said, that shines is not gold.
Yep.
And there are so many false, and that's why I have Mr. Allen here on the show. There are so many illusions that this is the right way to do something, and sometimes it's simply not. Sometimes the system can be so corrupt until, you know, corrupt is not the god of corruption. You know what I mean? So sometimes, even though parents, we must teach our children. Sometimes trouble will befall them. But we have to have the legal advisors. We have to have more of the community advisors. We need more of the churches to be open to help the youth rather than closing the doors and locking the youth out. We need more fairness and more justice, Mr. Allen.
I agree.
We need more where it's not about when money comes into Chicago and it's funneled to the same old friends rather than to the people who are out here actually doing the work. And I need you to talk a little bit on that for me.
And before I get to that, I want to say some of the youth are really stepping up and do leadership. I mean, they've put together an action in Chicago this week to reclaim Martin Luther King Day on the 15th, his real birthday, instead of the one that we've all decided we should take a day off from work on Monday. It'll be down there at 1001 West Roosevelt at 6 p.m., trying to bring back the real spirit of Martin Luther King, where people actually resisted, stood up for themselves, and fought for justice instead of the kumbaya version of Martin Luther King, where everybody just came together and all the problems were solved. It was a battle. And I think that it's important that people remember, as we come up to Martin Luther King's birthday, that he was an outlaw at the time. I mean, he was a criminal. He was at time in jail.
Yes.
The letter from Birmingham jail is not written not just because he was standing outside. He was locked away inside.
But isn't it ironic, though, Mr. Allen, how we praise something on one side, and because of lack of understanding, we criticize or attack it on the other side? How could Martin be this great leader, but then we'll sit up and talk about people who went to prison?
Right.
And he
That's
was
what I
one
always
of them.
say. Yeah. I mean, he was not somebody who believed in following all the laws. He only believed in following those ones that were just and stood up for the ones that are unjust, saying, no, I'm not going to do this. And I think that youth of today, there's some obviously that are out there being stupid, but there's others that are really stepping up and taking a lead. And sometimes they have to listen to us, but other times we have to listen to them. Because they have their own agenda, and some of them are really doing some great work out there. And I think it behooves us to pay attention to what's going on and not demonize all youth together, saying, oh, they're just all running around playing gangs and this, that, and the other thing. Some of them are doing great work. So I agree with you 100%. We got to guide them, and they got to guide us, and together we can make some change here. The old generation is not going to do it alone.
I can't. I can't. You know, we had some youth at our young men's at our town hall meeting or planning meeting, and it was a really, really learning experience where these young people was in this meeting, and they were listening, but they finally stepped up and said, "We don't want to listen to you. We don't want to listen to all these guys in here talking about this is the right way and that's the right way. We watched you for 40 years in this wilderness, and it hasn't gotten any better for us."
Right.
One young man stepped up and said, I'm just like Josh and Caleb. If I have to be the only one come out this wilderness, so shall it be. Because what you've taught us but what you've shown us is two different things. And it's confusing. And we don't trust you anymore. Now you need to hear us.
Right.
Hear what we have to say.
One of my friends from Schaumburg asked, what do I think about the Ferguson stuff and all that? I said, you want the truth? I said, we are worse than communists right now. We have more laws than the communists ever have, and we are allowing police to shoot people without regard for anything. They don't care. Hey, he's a cop. He gets to go home. The family's got to deal with it. Oh, he had a gun. Oh, yeah, They should be trained. It's why do we have so many laws? And when we were talking last week, you were asking me about numbers. 777 guys are locked up just for marijuana. And I was telling Norm, half of the Department of Corrections is African American from Cook County. And I got all the statistics for you. I got the booklets for you. And anybody go to IDOC website and see the age group of these children. Here's the sad part. If you look at the chapel in Menard, there's pews. Then there's fences with razor wires. This is church. 2 gun towers, and then officers walking up and down with oak sticks in full riot gear while you're going to church. And when I saw that picture, I got appalled. I mean, I'm here to pray. I'm here to learn, but we're not the Nazis. This is America. What have we become? All these ex-soldiers are coming back with the tactics that they used in Afghanistan, Iraq, and they're now using it on the streets of Chicago and everywhere. Englewood, Rosewood. I mean, as I talk to Miss Boyce, it's happening over there by Roosevelt and Holman. And it's like, what do we need to do? Well, maybe we need to force them to have a civilian advisory board, a civilian review board that reviews every shooting and every incident. Everything must be reviewed by individuals that are not working for the mayor. Because if you work for the mayor and you're reviewing it, you're going to do what he says. That's like me checking over myself.
Why is that? Why is that? What happened to the courage that was given to individuals or to people who, okay, you can't be my master. I got my own mind.
But now
What
it's
happened to
greed.
the people?
It became greed. There's so much money. They're getting so much money under the table. Look at every time we turn around, the sanitation guy, he's gone to jail. We got the one alderman fighting because he got a $42 million lot for $50. Say what? How come I can't get that? I got $50 right now, man. I'll give you 100. You know, but we know they're sharing the money amongst them, and they're not putting it back in the community. You got these buildings with the firemen running in with the X's on them, which means they're already falling apart, and the firemen are putting their lives on running in there because somebody set it on fire because they're trying to stay warm. All these abandoned hospitals, yet we have homeless people sleeping outside. Open them hospitals up, put some heat on, turn some water on, and let them use the rooms. It's not going to cost the city that much. You pay for water and electricity. It's already there, you know. And it's sad. It's sad. Instead, let's just tear it down and build condominiums. You know, let's just keep.
The poor people can't afford.
They
Yes,
can't
they
afford.
can't afford.
Exactly.
You know.
What do you say, Mr. Allen? Where's the next step for us?
I like to go back what I said before in terms of listening to the youth. I think the lesson, and you said it yourself, the lesson here is those who are most affected are the ones who have to have the voice. So just like you were saying with the youth saying, you know, we've been listening to you all old people for the last 40 years, but we're still getting stopped and beaten up by the police.
Wow.
We're still getting stopped and beaten up by the police, and it hasn't changed. And same thing, you know, happens in prison. There's all these people out here doing prison reform, but they never actually go in and talk to the prisoners.
Exactly.
The legislative committee of the Illinois House and Senate, they have a joint committee, and they've been holding hearings for 6 months, and they just came out with a report last week. And they toured Stateville and Sheridan. But while they were there, they didn't stop to talk to a single prisoner. So not one single prisoner was able to address this committee that held hearings for 6 months of years. And, you know, these people are human beings, and what we got to do is make sure their voices are heard because they're the ones that are most affected. They live there 24 hours a day. They have very intelligent things to say, just like the youth do. You can't ignore the people that are most affected. And until we start listening to the people that are most affected, we're never going to affect change. And that's part of our job at the Law Center. That's why all those letters that Brian reads every day are so important. We get 100 letters a day, and that's their way of communicating with the outside world.
No,
You had something to say?
I'm trying to remember the name of a Black Panther leader that was locked up and why he was Huey, and he wrote all those books.
Oh, yeah, Huey and
Some of it
And
was
George Jackson.
a bit militant, but it also was like stand up and be accounted for. You don't have to hurt nobody, but you have the right to protect yourself. I mean, I did all the time in prison. You did time in prison. Look what we're doing. We're out here not making much money, struggling to get a dime here, a dime there to feed this, to do these little charity works. And I read this letter. An inmate got in a fight with a cellie. So they took the guy out of the cell, and they said, we're going to put you in this cell. He goes, put me in there with that guy, I'm going to kill him, right in front of you. And the guard said, yeah, sure. They opened the door, they put him in there, and he killed him right there in front of the officers. I got life. This guy had 3 years. Why didn't they do classification? Why didn't they do a
The guy
check?
that died had 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Right.
Because this guy doesn't care. He wants to be in a cell by himself. So if he keeps killing his cellies, they'll leave him alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why isn't somebody reviewing this? Why is it that time?
But Brian, you and Attorney Allen here know that they have organizations that they pay tons of money supposed to be doing the eye check inside of the prison, like the John Howard Associations and different things. You and I both know that is a joke.
Yes.
That is a joke. And when I spoke with Mr. Rana, the upcoming, I think it's tomorrow he's being inaugurated.
Yes, it is. Tomorrow he's the governor.
Being inaugurated. At several meetings with Mr. Rana, I talked to him about the correctional center and the system and how it's working, and that people like him don't have a clue.
Right.
They don't know what to do or even understand that it is a system. It's a beast. And several times he promised that my transition team is going to include people who've been there, done that, who knows from the inside, whatever.
If you need me, I will be anywhere you need me. It's a Representative Arroyo. We've worked with him. He's learning more and more about prisons than anybody. I mean, we're steadily talking to him. He's asked me, draft up new rules that'll help make things easier for the inmates, the families, and security. So when the guys come home, they're like you, because I've never heard anybody talk about, I'm glad you're paying taxes. I mean, I'm glad I pay taxes. I feel good, you know. But we need to make these guys whole And if we don't put the money back into the prisons and into school, because the school district 428 inside the prison system needs the money for the schools.
But
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Ultimately, the problem is there's too many people in prison.
Yes.
There's nothing anybody can do with the system to make it a good system as long as we continue to lock up 49,000 plus people in Illinois. It's just vastly overcrowded. As I've said before, Illinois has the most overcrowded prison system in the entire country. We're operating at about 173% of capacity. So that means if we let out a third of all the people that are currently in prison, it would still be overcrowded. So why don't they do classifications? Because they don't have any room to put anybody anywhere. They just don't have any empty cells ever. So that's the first thing Mr. Rauner can do is work on getting some people out of prison, reinstitute the early release that they've had for years and aren't using, start issuing some pardons to people who are in there for the simple marijuana possessions. Why are they in prison? It's a waste of everybody's time and money. Everybody knows that. The people who work in the Department of Corrections will tell you, these people don't need to be here. Half the people that are in the Department of Corrections don't need to be there.
And I have to say, it was about 2 weeks ago, the Catholic Church and priests came together at Cook County Jail and held Anita Alvarez on trial because white guys are getting tickets for marijuana, but not blacks and Hispanics. And I was shocked how many priests were out there. I'm Catholic. And I was like, I was proud to see them start standing up, speaking up, because this needs to change.
Yeah.
How could you, I'm white, you're black, you go to jail, I get to go free, get a ticket for a joint? That's disgusting. I mean, and it's the person who does that should go to jail because you're a racist. You shouldn't be around us. You should not have that authority to do that. You need to be trained to treat you and me as human beings because you're a person, I'm a person. We are all created in God's image.
Yeah, I mean, go back to 1978, 1979. Illinois had, 2, 3, maybe 5,000 prisoners? It's not that we're not a lot more violent. We just decided to lock up a whole lot of people for a very long time for drugs. That's all that's going on. There's no reason in the world we can't be back where we were in 1978. Close the place down, empty it out, and then you can start talking about running a real prison system where you actually do rehabilitation, where you actually have religious services, where you actually put people in the cells where people aren't going to kill them. You can teach them to read. I mean, heck, we're not even teaching people to read anymore in the prison system.
Right. At Life Builders United, we are venturing out in so many ways to try to encapsulate all the things that we see that might bring people together. And in bringing them together, sometimes we have to reach out to the various talents and gifts that God has placed in them and help them to redefine or help them to clean out and to find out where this diamond under this rough character or under this rough situation is. We're beginning, since our Christmas holiday giveaway, family meeting, and bringing it all together. Mr. Allen, we serviced over 4,000 people in one day, and then 2 days later we did it again.
I heard that.
We are working, we are moving, and we are not a joke over there. So we're trying in so many ways. So since then, there are so many young people, we hear them singing or doing this and that. We're trying to bring in that community choir to get them to do things together. Because once you create something for people to do together, they start talking and doing things with each other in there to do things. Miss Stephanie is going to be a part of that. She's going to help bring that to Inglewood.
Excellent.
And I need to challenge you with a charter that you would come over sometime and teach a legal class.
Absolutely.
I'm
happy to do it.
Yes. Both of us.
It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. It's an opportunity.
We go all over
You
talking.
got so many young men over there that don't have driver's license for simple stuff, a ticket.
Yep.
And we all know that the way the tickets has been issued for the last year or so has been totally unjust.
Yep.
So I need you to promise me that we're going to set some dates.
It's a deal. As I say, it's not a challenge. It's an opportunity.
And
Speaking
wanna
about
spread that
dates,
word.
that's January the 16th, guys. From 10 to 5, we're going to start January the 16th. We're going to be holding auditions at 6855 Emerald. My name is Stephanie Porche. I'll be in the music department. Stop by and see, show what you have. That's 6855 January the 16th from 10 to 5, and it's going to be ongoing, all ages. Just come in.
And Mr. Noah might just be one of the lead singers over there while he's sitting over there quiet.
Oh, I
About
should send
lead
my
singer, I
nephew.
know he could be one of the lead dancers. But anyway,
Oh, praise dancers are welcome as well, and musicians.
Me and him
Can
was
you
at
email
Club
me that
Missouri.
stuff?
I sure can.
I'll get my nephew because he wants to be a rapper. Right?
Okay.
Make my
Bring him
nephew
in.
get up there, stand up
Bring
there.
him in.
Yeah, he wants it.
And don't forget,
BCA and OMCA and Robert House, in conjunction with what we're doing with the youth and the children, is in Life Builders Building. So it's all the headquarters.
Yes.
You know, and what I would like, there's so many little groups. I go, at one time I was going to a meeting every night. Well, if we could get these groups together, we don't have to have 1 minute. 1 minute. Thank you, Mr. Crawford, for letting us come here and speak, giving us your time. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Geraldine.
and in 2015, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to get Mr. Crawford to come here one night and hear and sit in and see what it is that we're really doing, so that he can see what we're doing out in the community, that what he's investing in us to do here is not in vain.
No.
It is not in vain.
No.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is WYCA 102.3 FM, your Rejoice Gospel Network. I'm Miss Geraldine Smith, and this is A Pleasant Encounter. It's been a pleasant encounter to serve you. It's a pleasant encounter to continue to serve you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you.